So I'm doing my review for one of the BooktubeSFF award nominees. This particular one is from the YA category. It got a lot of hype on BookTube, and that is Illuminae by Amy Kaufman and J. Kristoff. This is a story about kind of the aftermath of an attack. It's set up as a kind of dossier on this one particular event and the aftermath of it. Basically what happens is there is an illegal mining operation. Basically the entire planet is established and a competing company comes in and annihilates the mine. Basically the entire population, or those of the population that actually survive, have to flee. They manage to make it onto a set of 3 ships, mostly research vessels that aren't really equipped to deal with them, and they are trying to survive. And unfortunately, they find out that their AI is kind of terrible. The story follows a girl, Katie, and her ex-boyfriend, Ezra. There are a lot of things that I think this book could have done really, really well. I don't know how to say this without sounding like a grumpy old person. The format was absolutely my biggest problem. Absolutely. I'll talk about the characters and the actual plot itself in a little while, but the format is one of the things that makes this book distinctive. You can see it has things that are supposed to be like video or blog entries, these transcripts and emails and official transfer reports from this basically military operation. None of that bothers me. What bothers me is that there is so little thought put into the tone and making the tone match the actual documents that it is supposed to be. When you have an official report of a court-martial, I can almost guarantee you that there is not a sexual assault threat from a commanding officer towards the person being court-martialed. When you have a person who's reporting and summarizing the recordings from a security feed video, and it's going into an official report, they are probably not going to make a comment about somebody's butt in a sexual, explicitly sexual manner. There's just such a disconnect in the kind of language that is being used and the people who are supposed to be using that language. I'm not saying that everybody is going to be professional in all of the reports, but there is a very clear lack of professionalism that does not match the fact that the people writing it are supposed to be professional military report writers, or people who are, it just doesn't make sense. As far as the characters, there are 2 main characters, Katie, who is kind of a secret computer genius, and Ezra, who is basically a born fighter pilot, right? They had broken up immediately before the attack happened and are sent to different ships when they flee. So they're on 2 different ships. Their main communication, their sole communication, is basically through IM. I found both of the characters to be really, really flat. And I think part of this is there isn't a connecting narrative that really shows the inner workings of their mind. There are a couple of blog diary style posts, but I think that they were not used to their strongest ability. There are a couple of side characters who are more or less noteworthy. The main one being Byron, who is in communication with Katie. He basically recruits her to help him figure out what's going on into this big hacker network. Byron is like a 45-year-old man. Byron talks like he's 12. It's okay. I get it. This is a book that's written for 16-year-olds, but to me it doesn't make sense, and it doesn't match up with the kind of things I would expect from any kind of relationship of that sort, right? Like, she's never actually met Byron for the first part of the book. He kind of just sends her a message that's like, yo, I see you're good at computers. Want to do some crazy computer stuff with me? And she's like, yeah, let's hack into all of the computer networks. Just, what? Like, I really wish that they had taken more time to build that. The relationship between Katie and Ezra is so bad. It is really strained. And there is not the sort of like self-reflection that would have made it much more bearable to me. So basically, Katie doesn't like Ezra particularly much. They have very different ideas of where they want their life to go, and at the very beginning of the story, she breaks up with him. Throughout the next maybe 150 or so pages, they get back in contact and, of course, fall back in love. But there isn't like this self-reflective thought, like, my world just came apart. What does that have to do with my emotions? Do I really want to be with you, or am I doing this because I am feeling insecure, right? It doesn't happen on Ezra's part. It doesn't happen on Katie's part. Everyone else who knows about it is like, yeah, you're totally in true love. And if they had taken a step back and said, hey, my world has fallen apart. Everyone I know is dead. Right now, you are the most stable thing I have, and I need that from you. That would have been a very different thing. That would have been something that I would have found intriguing. But as it was just kind of a headache. Aiden is the AI, and kind of goes a little bit like HAL 2000 on us. Basically, Aiden arranges for the death of the entirety of one of the ships for no apparent reason. We find out, of course, later what's going on. And the second half of the book is by and large dedicated to actually hearing Aiden's development of his personality. He's an AI sort of program that is thrust into actual like self-conscious thought because of the attack on the ship. And so his text is on these black pages that are scattered throughout. You can see as you go farther into the book, it becomes almost exclusively black pages. I really liked the kind of way that they had Aiden presented. Some of it's a little gimmicky, like every once in a while Aiden will think, I'm trying to see if I can find an example here, in like this bouncy turning around font. So like Aiden develops his file thoughts like this, which I could have lived without, but the actual content of the way that they have this computer adapting I found intriguing. I mean, there's supposed to be a couple of heart-wrenching moments that I found to be a little lackluster. Overall, I think the first part of the book is really weak, but the second part of the book is like decently strong. And I hate saying this because it always sounds like I'm just some sort of, again, cranky old person, but it feels like it's one of those books that to me sometimes strikes of talking down to your reader. Like they are talking down to the kind of teenager who's going to pick this up and present the story in a way that is less critical because it's written for teenagers. I mean, we can talk about other things. The language in it sounds like it's from the early 2000s. The memos and like graphic art looks like somebody's clip art from like, I don't know, 06. But that part at least I think is really secondary to the bigger tonal problems, to a lot of the more character development problems. The plot itself is, I think, has potential to be interesting. I think it loses itself in this attempt to build Katie and Ezra's relationship sometimes. It doesn't really become intriguing until there's kind of this big catalyst near the end. And even then it's because like superhero Katie, right? Super magic Katie, who's never had any interest in computers before, but now is suddenly a magic hacker. She goes on actual like adventure and has conflict and is trying to actually actively save the remainder of the people on board these ships. And that part was interesting to me. Overall, I was not very pleased with this. I know that it is very well loved and it has been very well received. I think it's just not for me. I have a tendency, I think, to get caught in certain things. If things don't make sense in my head, I can't kind of let it go. So suspending my disbelief for this was very difficult. I know it has been well loved, so I'll try to link some positive reviews because I'm sure that that would be useful as well to you. But let me know what you think of Illuminae. I know a lot of people are reading it right now, and I'm interested to hear what you think. Anyways, you know the drill. Comment, like, subscribe. Let me know what you have thought of Illuminae. I hope you're having a fantastic reading week, and I will talk to you later. Bye.